Hello, and welcome. Tonight we will journey to a period of history often defined by its ending, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. But we will not focus on the collapse of an era. Instead, we will explore a more powerful, more enduring story, the story of human triumph. This is not a tale of kings and emperors, but of ordinary people who, in the face of a shattered world, found the courage to rebuild. This is a narrative of resilience, ingenuity, and the unyielding spirit of survival. It is a testament to the profound truth that a civilization's greatest strength is not its armies or its monuments, but the collective will of its people to persevere. So let us step back in time, beyond the battlefield, and into the villages and hearts of those who, piece by piece, built a new world from the fragments of the old. We will uncover a story that reminds us that even in the darkest of times, the seeds of a new beginning can be found in the quiet, persistent work of human hands. Imagine yourself in the heart of what was once Roman Gaul, a fertile land of rolling hills and bustling cities. The year is no longer one of glorious Roman dominion, but of uncertainty. The great legions have receded. Stone roads, once a vibrant network of trade and travel, are beginning to crack and crumble. The aqueducts, marvels of engineering that once delivered life-giving water, now stand as silent, broken monuments to a lost age. Life is no longer easy. The structured, predictable world of the Roman Empire is gone, replaced by a precarious existence where every day is a test of will. The once thriving marketplace in the city square is quiet. Merchants who once traveled vast distances no longer dare to, their carts and goods vulnerable to the fragmented bands of warriors and brigands. The grand villas lie empty, their roofs caved in, their mosaic floors covered in dust. In this shattered world, survival depends on a new kind of ingenuity, a return to the basics. A woman, a descendant of a family that once owned a bustling pottery workshop, now finds herself teaching her children to dig for clay by the riverbank. The Roman-era kilns, fired with imported coal, are no longer an option. She learns to build a new one, a smaller, less efficient structure of local stone and mud, fueled by collected wood. Her pots are no longer the elegant, uniform vessels of the Roman age, but they are strong, and they hold water. They are a triumph of perseverance. The farmer whose ancestors worked fields alongside massive centrally managed farms now relies on a small family plot. The Roman plows forged in distant imperial factories are worn and broken. He must learn to smith iron himself, an ancient skill largely lost. His new plow is not a masterpiece of engineering. It is heavy and simple, but it is his. With it, he and his family can turn the hard soil, planting seeds for a harvest that will determine their survival through the harsh winter. And at night, when the dangers of the world outside seem most palpable, communities find strength in unity. They gather in the small stone buildings that remain intact. They share stories and bread. The old Roman coins, once symbols of wealth and power, are now little more than trinkets. A new economy has emerged, based on barter and trust. A neighbor trades a freshly baked loaf of bread for a small pot of honey. Skilled craftsman repairs a roof in exchange for a bag of grain. These small, daily acts of cooperation are the true lifeblood of this new society. This is the spirit of resilience. It is not a tale of a single heroic act, but of a million small acts of courage, resourcefulness, and unwavering determination. It is a story of learning to live with less, to create with what is at hand, and to find strength not in the size of an empire, but in the heart of a community. The Roman world had fallen, but the human spirit, adaptable and enduring, had not. It was here, in the quiet villages and fields, that the first fragile threads of a new era were being woven. The foundations were laid in the dust and struggle of daily life. From this simple, powerful truth, a new kind of greatness would emerge in an unexpected place. While the European mainland was caught in a long, difficult process of fragmentation and rebuilding, something remarkable was happening on the fringes of the known world. In the monasteries of Ireland and Britain, insulated by the sea from the worst of the chaos, a different kind of survival story was unfolding. This was not a physical struggle against the elements, but an intellectual and spiritual one. This was the story of the monks who became the quiet guardians of civilization. Imagine a young man, a scribe in a stone cell on a rocky island. The wind and rain howl outside, but within, The air is still and smells of parchment, ink, and beeswax. His tools are simple: a quill made from a goose feather, ink made from soot and plant matter, and a block of vellum, painstakingly prepared from animal hide. His task is monumental: to meticulously copy, word by word, the works of ancient Rome and Greece. A single page could take a day, a single book, a year. A single misplaced letter could render 1,000-year-old text unintelligible. The pressure was immense, yet their dedication was absolute. These monks were not just copying texts. They were performing an act of intellectual courage. They were preserving knowledge of the philosophies of Seneca, the histories of Livy, the poetry of Virgil. They understood, with a profound wisdom, that a society's true legacy lay not in its crumbling roads or fallen statues, but in its ideas. They recognized that the light of knowledge, once extinguished, is nearly impossible to reignite. So they worked in quiet solitude, a tireless and selfless act of faith in the future. The monastery itself was a place of intellectual rebirth. Under the guidance of visionary leaders, like the abbots who founded monasteries like Iona, these communities became living libraries. They developed new forms of handwriting like the insular script, which was clearer and faster than its Roman predecessors. They perfected the art of illumination, turning sacred texts into breathtaking works of art, adding a visual legacy to the written one. The work was slow, painstaking, and utterly devoid of the glory of battle or the fame of a king. But it was nothing short of heroic. This intellectual movement was the path to greatness. The monks of the insular world did not conquer lands, they conquered ignorance. Their legacy was not built with stone but with ink. They were pioneers in their own right, forging a new path for humanity by turning inward. By focusing on the preservation of a civilization's collective mind, they were the bridge that would eventually connect the fragmented chaos of the early medieval period to the great reawakening of the Renaissance centuries later. They stand as a powerful reminder that true greatness is often found not in the pursuit of power, but in the quiet, humble act of service to something larger than oneself. From the quiet sanctity of the monasteries, our journey now returns to the mainland, where human ingenuity was at work in a different, more physical way. The collapse of the Roman Empire did not just shatter political structures, it also broke the chains of its centralized technological and economic systems. In the absence of imperial factories and trade routes, a new decentralized age of innovation was born. This was the era of the practical inventor, the clever farmer, and the resourceful blacksmith. Imagine a blacksmith in a small Germanic settlement. For generations, the tools of their trade, the iron, and the complex knowledge of how to work it came from distant Roman forges. Now, that supply is gone. The blacksmith's challenge is not just to repair old tools, but to reinvent the very methods of their creation. They must find local iron ore, often of a lesser quality, and develop new techniques to refine it. The result is a new kind of steel, not as pure as the old Roman steel, but often harder and more resilient. The pursuit of knowledge was not an abstract goal. It was a daily necessity. This practical ingenuity led to the creation of better plows, more durable axes, and stronger swords, giving a quiet but profound advantage to the communities that developed them. And in the fields, the farmers, our very first subjects, were forging a new relationship with the land. Roman agriculture, while advanced, was often reliant on slave labor and vast open fields. The new farmers, working their smaller plots, developed the heavy plow. This simple, yet revolutionary invention was a powerful, symbolic act of progress. It allowed them to turn the thick, rich soil of northern Europe, land that had been too difficult to farm with earlier plows. The heavy plow was a technological breakthrough that not only increased food production, but also fundamentally changed the way people lived, leading to a new kind of settlement pattern and a deeper communal bond. These innovations were not the work of a single genius, but the cumulative effort of generations of practical thinkers. They learned by doing, passing down their skills from father to son, from mother to daughter. This was knowledge born of necessity. The Roman libraries may have been in disrepair, but the libraries of the human mind, filled with the unwritten knowledge of how to build, how to grow, and how to create, were more active than ever. This segment is a testament to the powerful truth that human ingenuity can thrive even in the absence of great institutions. It reminds us that progress is not always a linear path of grand designs, but can emerge from the quiet, persistent effort of people solving their immediate problems. This resilience and innovation would be the bedrock of the new society that was to come. The stories we have explored, the daily struggle of the Romanized Gauls and the scholarly devotion of the monks, were not isolated events. They were the seeds of a new world. Our final segment looks at the powerful, long-term impact and legacy of these survival stories, showing how the quiet ingenuity of a few gave birth to a whole new societal structure. With the central authority of Rome gone, communities were left to fend for themselves. This necessity led to the rise of local power. A strong farmer or a skilled warrior who could offer protection in exchange for loyalty and labor became a local leader. These were not emperors, but everyday people who rose to the occasion. The very word feudalism, often associated with the rigidity of the Middle Ages, was born from this initial, courageous act of mutual reliance. It was a societal contract built not on edicts from a distant capital, but on the simple, powerful need for security and community. It was a new system forged from the ground up, not imposed from the top down. The preserved knowledge from the monasteries, once a hidden treasure, began to make its way back to the mainland. Scribes and monks traveling across the lands brought with them not just religious texts, but the preserved philosophies, histories, and agricultural manuals of the ancient world. The very act of copying these texts had kept a flame of literacy and learning alive, a flame that would eventually catch and spread, leading to the rise of new centers of learning and ultimately the first universities. The intellectual triumph of the monks was the fertile ground from which a new intellectual age would grow: the heavy plow, the resilient local steel. And the new methods of farming and building these small technological advancements had an enormous impact. They led to more reliable food sources, which allowed populations to grow and become more settled. The small, isolated farms began to coalesce into villages. And these villages, in turn, formed the basis of the towns and cities that would define medieval Europe. The people who were simply trying to survive the day were, without knowing it, laying the physical and social groundwork for 1,000 years of history. This is the ultimate triumph beyond the battlefield. The fall of an empire did not mean the end of civilization. It simply meant a change in its form. The spirit of human ingenuity, adaptability, and unwavering will ensured that. The seeds of a new Europe were not planted by a victorious army, but by the determined hands of a potter, a farmer, and a scribe. Their triumph was not in conquest, but in the quiet, persistent work of rebuilding. As we come to the end of our journey, let us reflect on this profound truth. The stories that truly define us as a species are often not found in the grand narratives of kings and wars, but in the small, forgotten moments of human resilience. The collapse of the Roman Empire was not a void, but a crucible. It was a time that tested the limits of human perseverance, and in doing so revealed our deepest strengths. The people who lived in that shattered world were not victims of history. They were its architects. They built a new society from the fragments of the old, proving that a civilization's endurance is a measure of its people's spirit. So, whatever challenges you face, remember the farmer with his new plow, the potter with her simple kill, and the scribe in his quiet cell. Remember their resilience, their ingenuity, and their unwavering hope. For in their story, we find a timeless lesson that even in the face of immense change and uncertainty, the power to rebuild, to create, and to thrive lies within each of us. The ancient past holds a light that can guide our way forward. That brings us to the end of another journey through the annals of inspirational history. We hope this story of triumph, resilience, and the enduring human spirit has left you feeling empowered and reflective. If you were moved by this tale, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more journeys into the past, and comment below with your thoughts or any historical moments that inspire you. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful stories of human triumph.